Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the GioMoShow, Oakland men's basketball game reviews. I am your host, Giovanni Mosheri, and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the GioMoShow for weekly coverage of the Oakland Golden Grizzlies. In this past week, a split of the two games for the Golden Grizzlies, a home win against the tough Purdue Fort Wayne, the other Indiana team, against Purdue Fort Wayne at home, but a difficult loss against Robert Morris on the road. And to help me break down the two games from this week is the assistant coach of the Golden Grizzlies, Bobby Naubert, returns to the Joe Mo Show. Coach Bobby, what's going on?
What's up, man? Good to be back. Appreciate you having me.
Of course. And if you guys want to learn more about Coach Bobby, all the way back in November 23, we had our first interview down in the studios of WXOU. You guys can go and check that out on WXOU Sports' YouTube channel if you want to get the background of Coach Bobby. But for the current timeline that we're on right now, Coach, a win against Purdue Fort Wayne. I want to start with that one. Purdue Fort Wayne coming into that game as the number one offense and as one of the more dominant free throw shooting teams in the league, too. You guys were able to put a cap on both those things. Walk me through that game.
Yeah, I think you just said it really well. Fort Wayne does a really good job of getting downhill, getting to the free throw line. They have a lot of really talented players. I know Coach Campy talked about it a little bit last night on the radio show, but Jalen Jackson's probably, if not the best player in the league, extremely dangerous driving, getting downhill. So the tough thing about them, usually, you're trying to take away guys that can drive the basket, but they do such a good job of spreading it out and have a lot of guys that can shoot the ball at a really high percentage. So, I mean, they started that game 5 for 5 from three, and it was looking a lot like last year again, where I'm getting those flashbacks where they're hitting, 18 threes on 65%. So there's definitely a reason why they're, preseason number one. They're a top two or three team in the league right now. And when they're clicking, they're as hard as anyone to stop. And I know we just talked about it a little bit, but it's hard to kind of game prep for that. They do a lot of things really well. Their coach does a really good job of kind of spreading out the zone, making you kind of guard multiple people outside on the perimeter, where usually you have a couple guys inside that can't really do a whole lot, and a couple guys that can spread it out. But when you got five guys, all of them can shoot it on the court, all of them can drive it. Our guys, I'm really proud of our guys how they stepped up, and it was a big win. We needed it.
Definitely. I want to talk about the two big players in this one, both of which scored 22 points. Allen and Baru getting it done. We knew going into it that the advantage would be to you guys in the front court, but 22 points each for both those guys, and Baru lighting up the arena with dunks and stuff. I'll give you the floor. Just talk to me about those guys, especially in that game.
It's crazy. We're almost like not expecting that now, but when they do it, we're not surprised, that those guys will go out there and produce, and they've been great all season. I mean, the thing that a lot of people aren't really paying attention is they're both shooting over 50% from the floor. And anytime you got guys that are physical down low, and they're both, able to play on the perimeter and get downhill to the basket. So there's such a hard cover when it's not like, oh, they're just down around the basket. They can go outside, they can go inside. They both hunt offensive rebounds. So usually you got one guy that does that. To have two and continuously be hunting rebounds, being physical down low and being able to get those easy buckets. It's a testament to both of them and their work ethic and what they've done. They've done a great job, obviously representing our team, but representing, the work that it takes outside the, just practice to be really good. And we're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep feeding inside and out. That's been kind of the thing all year is get those guys the ball. If they're going to double team, then those other guys will have good shots, open shots. So um, it's just funny. You look at the stats, and every time I look up, I'm like, oh, Brew's not playing that good. He's got 23 and 8. I'm like, I guess he's playing better than I thought.
Yeah, and I was looking at the stats. They're both number one and number two at field goal percentage this season, way over 50%, 55 plus. So
Yeah.
they've been doing a great job. And I wanted to zone in. I'm not sure if you saw the post game press conference afterwards, but for me, like I always saw Baru and Mukeba a little bit as well, but both of them is a little bit more, at least to the media, a little quieter, a little bit more shy. But after that game, I saw a completely different side of especially Baru talking about how if teams want to pick a matchup between the two of us, then it's going to be a long night for them. Like that, I felt that kind of outward confidence. Is that something that's been going on throughout the season, or is that just the first time we've seen that kind of confidence?
Yeah, I think this year Brew's been way more comfortable. He's really stepped up as a leader and a vocal guy on our team, which honestly, between me and you, if you would have told me that last year, that Brew was going to be this voice of our team, I probably would have looked at you and been like, I don't see that happening quite yet. But he's been amazing. I mean, his leadership and him and Allen are both kind of, like you just said, soft-spoken young guys, but both of them, they both have a voice. They both understand their importance to how they kind of get this team going and through their play and through their actions. So he's been way more vocal this year. He's got on people in practice too, which I love to see. I just think that both those guys understand that for us to be successful, they both have to obviously play well, but they both have to lead with the kind of confidence and how they're playing is how they're kind of speaking off the court. So it's exciting to see Baru kind of getting both, people starting to be like, oh, he does talk and he is a little bit more outspoken. Once you get to know him, he'll come out of his shell. He comes up here a lot with me and Coach Trey, and after he watches film and goes through kind of what we have to do to get better, he's in here chatting it up and talking. So once he kind of gets past that initial barrier, he's a funny guy.
For sure. My favorite part is his celebration that they put on the board in the arena. It's just a simple goofy thumbs up. It kills me every time.
That probably sums him up pretty well. Just a classic thumbs up, ready to roll.
So for that game, that one final score is 76-72. Golden Grizzlies win. And now the bad news. We go on the road to Robert Morris. That game was unique. It was a close game. It was one where you guys almost had to come back and then just fell short at the last second. But hearing Campy on the radio show like that it seems like that's a win for you guys despite the result on the floor. Like making that comeback was a big deal for you guys. What's your say on it?
Yeah, I obviously echo what Campy's saying there. I think that it was nice to see instead of us, having a big lead and kind of squandering it like we did earlier in the season, the Oregon State, the Hawaii, where it obviously didn't go our way and we didn't get the win. So not going to take any moral victories down the stretch here, but for us to kind of have some adversity, have some things go against us, some calls that didn't go our way, couple plays that didn't go our way to keep fighting back under 5 minutes where we could easily just kind of showed what we did earlier in the season, kind of just pack it in and say it wasn't our day. And those guys fought like heck. And I was extremely proud of the effort and just kind of the resiliency that we showed. Obviously, you walk away with a loss, and I'm not going to be happy about that. I don't think anyone in our locker room's happy about that. But in March, when it comes down to those plays, there's going to be opportunities. There's going to be things that don't go our way. There's going to be refereeing that doesn't go our way. And we're going to have to just bunker down and play. And that was encouraging for March to be like, okay, when things aren't our way, we can dig out of that hole and keep playing. So give Robert Morris a lot of credit. I know Campy said that last night. It didn't come down to one or two plays. It's a 40-minute game. And we try to say that every day. It's 40 minutes, 40 minutes. Everyone's got to be working hard for 40 minutes. And we fell a little bit short, but I think coming up in the last 9 games, we can use that kind of springboard that towards momentum for what we're trying to do.
Yeah, and one of the bright spots of that game, and I've been noticing it the past few, is Nassim Mashor is really, you know, getting into the lineup, playing significant minutes as a freshman. I think he was 4 of 7 from three before fouling out later in the game. But to do that as a freshman, especially at Oakland, like what has he been doing to allow himself that opportunity?
Yeah, and like you just said, especially for a freshman, a lot of times your freshman year, you're very up and down. You're just trying to learn, you're trying to get in a rhythm, you're trying to understand how Coach Campy thinks, and usually the game speed's really fast and you're not used to kind of the tempo and how it is, but give him a lot of credit. He's had some little bit of ups and downs and some moments where he's made big shots, some moments where he hasn't played a lot, and he's just been working. I think that he's in the gym every morning with our GA Will, and he's putting in work there. After practice, he's getting up more shots. He wants to be great. He's really coming up here and studying the film. So we preach that a lot. Like if you want to be great, you got to be consistent with what you're doing. And sometimes freshmen, you think you know what you're doing, then all of a sudden you kind of drop off, and it's a lot of ups and downs. But to his credit, the way his confidence he was shooting in that game, I'd like to see him continue to carry that over. If he becomes a big 3-point threat and a guy that can be solid running our offense, it makes our whole team better. And he understands that, and I'm excited for the future with him. He's a guy that wants to be at Oakland, a guy that trusts what Coach Campy says and believes, and he's going to be good here. And I'm excited that he's showing that in front of people now.
And now I want to move forward into this week where obviously your guys' attention is at right now. The upcoming week, the two home games, a lot of home games coming up in general, but the two in front of us are Thursday against Green Bay and then Saturday against Northern Kentucky. So we'll start with the Green Bay game. They're bottom of the league, still looking for their first conference win, but how do you guys approach a game like that against an opponent that's down on their luck, you could say?
Yeah, I think the first thing you got to understand is they've had a lot of injuries. I mean, any team that you lose two of your three best guys out there, it's going to be hard to get those wins. And to their credit, a lot of times, you lose a couple games in conference and maybe you don't have as much to play for. They've been battling with everyone. They play Youngstown to 4 points. They played Cleveland State to the last 4 minutes. They ended up losing by 15, but an absolute dogfight at Cleveland State. They played IU Indy on the road really close. Like, it's not a team, and we're trying to really stress this to our guys. Like, we're trying to get better for March, and we have 9 games to get better to get to that point. So right now, this is the first one, and we have to treat every single one like it's a playoff game because we don't have any room to slip or slide or um, not play our best basketball. So we're worried about ourselves playing our best basketball. And like I said, they have a lot of guys that have been in this gym. They're experienced. They played here. There's no one in this league you can overlook, and they have plenty of talent to come in here and hit a bunch of shots. So we're gonna keep the same focus we've had every game and continue to try to get better and understand that just because their record doesn't show they're a great team doesn't mean there's not someone that can come in and beat us.
And then for Saturday's game against Northern Kentucky, a team a little bit down on their luck, but still like they were top four in the league for quite some time before descending down a little bit. How do you guys approach that game? What's the kind of scouting report? What are you expecting to see on Saturday?
Yeah, you kind of just hit it right on the head. Is like really they're not rolling the right way, but they have so many players that have been there for so long that are so good. Just because they've had a couple bad games not go their way, close ones, doesn't mean they're not a good team. We are more than understanding that we beat them at their place in a very close game, and that if we don't bring our best effort, they have more than enough talent on that team to win here. And as I said, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but every single game here you got to be locked in. I mean, this is where good teams make that next jump, where it doesn't matter who's on the schedule, whether it's the first team in the league or last. Like, you're trying to progress as a team. So we understand both these teams have really good coaches, really good players, and we just have to keep getting better as a team.
And then, Coach, one more before you go. This one's a little bit more to you personally. I know you're currently on the road, between coming to practices and then hitting the airplane, going wherever to find new Golden Grizzlies. How do you balance that? How do you kind of maintain yourself in Rochester, but then also have all the trips going out for recruiting?
Yeah, I think just preparation. I think anytime, for me right now, it was funny. You started asking about last week, and I was like, I'm looking at, Green Bay, NKU. When I'm on the road, I'm also trying to cut up film, make sure that I'm present in this season, make sure I'm doing everything. I'm talking to our guys, making sure that our whole staff does this too, not just me, but when we're on the road, making sure we're connecting with our guys, making sure we're sending them film, making sure that we're preparing for this week as, it's as big as any week during the season. And then on top of it, you always got to understand in basketball, you got to be looking forward. So for us, we got to be going out there, building those relationships with good players. So next year, when some of these guys leave, we got another 3 or 4 really talented guys in. So just a lot of balance. Not as much sleep as you're usually getting this time of the year, which is fine for me. Maybe a couple more coffees, but just keep working.
And that work has been going so far so good for you, Coach Bobby. Appreciate you taking the time here on the JoMo Show.
Yeah, appreciate you, brother. Anytime.
All right, and your games are at or against Green Bay Thursday, and then against Northern Kentucky on Saturday. That'll conclude it for us here on the JoMo Show, Oakland men's basketball game reviews. My name is Giovanni Moshieri, and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the JoMo Show for weekly coverage of the Golden Grizzlies. And we'll see you next time.